So, some bad Giants news about 24 hours ago. I'm sorry I'm making this video late. I didn't really have time yesterday to do it. But Xavier McKinney and David Mayo sustained some pretty serious injuries yesterday. So, McKinney has a fracture in his foot that will most likely keep him out to at least November. And for David Mayo, it was looking bad at first. He has a torn meniscus, but he's going with some type of surgery. I'm not a doctor, obviously. I'm trying to make sense out of this. But going with the surgery where they're doing, part of the meniscus they're taking off. So he might only be out like a few weeks or so. So basically, I have more confidence in Mayo coming back first before McKinney. We'll get into both of those injuries, talk about the replacements and how much this actually hurts the Giants. So let's get into it. So for Xavier McKinney, obviously he was supposed to be the starting free safety, we believe, opposite of Jabril Peppers, and that is a huge loss because not only is McKinney one of the better players on this defense, he was one of the building blocks to a rebuilding team and was supposed to be one of the biggest pieces of the Giants this year. We were hoping we could see him improve week to week. Now we have to wait till November at the earliest. So in my honest opinion, I think it'd probably be a good idea to just hold him out. If the Giants are competitive this year and they're in the playoff race, then sure, bring him back. But I just feel like we're not going to see McKinney at 100% this year. And if the Giants are multiple games out of the playoffs by the time November comes around and by the time he's ready, I personally don't see the point in risking it. Now, apparently, this is the same type of injury that Hakeem Nicks had back in 2012's offseason. So, obviously, when we hear that as Giants fans, we just we're panicked about that because Hakeem Nicks had a very subtle end to his career. But for McKinney, I think he is a bit younger than Nicks. I know Nicks was very young when that happened, but still, I think McKinney's only 21 years old. They played different positions, and it's not like McKinney relied on his speed too much. I know his 40 time wasn't that great, but this is not a 4.3 guy, so I'm not overly concerned about it. I do trust McKinney will be back, and he'll be fine, but it might take another full year. I think we might not see the real Xavier McKinney until the 2021 season. I'm just being honest. So, it's just a terrible injury. This is the one guy they really couldn't afford to lose on their defense. I mean, obviously there's some important players, like Bradbury's very important, obviously, because they're weak at cornerback, and trying to think who else. They have a good defensive line. I mean, Blake Martinez at linebacker would be a big loss, but Xavier McKinney's a guy they cannot afford to lose. And now Jabril Peppers has to stay healthy. I mean, he got hurt last year. He had some type of bad back injury. He needs to stay on the field now for sure. So I think personally what they're going to do is, I know I harped on him being a outside cornerback most of this preseason, but now with an open spot at free safety, you put Julian Love there. So Julian Love started about 5-6 games or so last year, free safety. Honestly, played pretty well, especially for that being the first time he ever did it. So I think he'll do that. He'll be fine. He probably won't be what McKinney was, and probably doesn't have the upside McKinney has, but still, I'm fine with it. We can survive with Julian Love there for a few months. So he'll do that, but now my question is, who's the outside cornerback number 2? I honestly have no idea. They signed somebody from the Cardinals, I saw. He hasn't had a great career so far. I don't want to rely on that guy being a starter. They have Corey Ballantyne. You guys know I'm not the biggest Ballantyne guy. They have Chris Williamson from Minnesota. Not a big fan of him either. So now I'm concerned, who's going to be the cornerback 2? They can still sign somebody. They obviously tried to sign Ross Cockrell. The negotiations stalled, and he's still out there. So maybe they find a way to get him in. I personally don't get why. Maybe he wanted a 2-year deal, and the Giants want a 1-year deal. That's the only thing I can see happening. But the Giants have $26 or something million in cap space, so bringing Ross Cockrell in should not have much of a problem. I'm assuming it's more of a length of a contract type of deal going on here. But there's some other decent cornerbacks out there. I know he's old, but Brandon Carr, Drake Kirkpatrick, who I like, there's still some options out there. I feel the Giants will bring somebody in. It just depends who, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But definitely a big loss here. It's a shame. I like the McKinney pick a lot, and now we won't be able to see him until at least late November probably. And honestly, if I had to guess, I'd probably say till the 2021 season, assuming the Giants are competitive by that time. So we'll have to wait and see. And now on to David Mayo. So for David Mayo, I understand he's not the biggest loss, obviously, but he is their backup inside linebacker. He's the next guy in line if Blake Martinez or Ryan Conley went down. I think played some special teams on kickoffs as well. So the Giants will miss his presence. I know Dave Gettleman likes him a lot. They had a relationship in Carolina, so he's a guy had started 13 games last year for Ryan Conley. He's solid against the run, doesn't do much against the pass, but most Giants linebackers don't anyway. But he would have been a nice piece for this team, obviously. But now this kind of just opens the door for a guy I like in Tate Crowder. It opens the door for T.J. Brunson, Devontae Downs, who's been getting a lot of hype in the preseason by Giants beat writers so far. So there is that. And Mayo just signed a 3-year deal for $8.4 million with the Giants. So I looked at his contract. Basically, the details are that he has to make his money this year, but the Giants can cut him next year or the year after with no type of dead cap money. So they'll be fine in that situation. I know a 3-year deal looks bad, but if you look into it, it's not a bad contract. So as Ian Rappaport says here for the hashtag Giants linebacker David Mayo, the expectation going into surgery is that it'll be a meniscus trim, as I tried to explain to you guys before, rather than a full repair. So this can put him back on the field in 3 weeks or so. So maybe we're looking at like a week 2, week 3, week 4 type return for David Mayo, which would be nice. Obviously, these linebackers behind him, they will get a shot in week 1 and the rest of the preseason to prove if they should be the next guy in line. As I said, I like Tate Crowder. Hopefully, he gets a legitimate chance here. But for David Mayo, for the Giants standpoint, hopefully he does come back for depth reasons. He is a veteran. He's not the worst guy in the world, so hopefully he makes it back in as short a time as possible. So that'll do it for this video. Hopefully throughout this preseason we hear no more news about a serious injury. There's been a lot of pretty bad injuries, honestly, in the preseason. I don't know if it's COVID related and guys not being able to work out in the offseason or not having the preseason games, but you just think about, I saw Andre Dillard for the Eagles today went down. David Montgomery went down on a stretcher yesterday. Another rookie safety, Grant Delpit for the Browns, tore his Achilles. So that's terrible. So a lot of injuries going on right now. Let's just pray every night that the Giants stay healthy and no other key players get hurt. But that'll do it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.